Cheating GF took breaks to secretly sleep with my best friend of 20 years behind my back. Just found out about this subreddit, so I thought I'd share my story here. Strap in for a long post if you're ready. I am 33 meters, best friend is 33 meters, and girlfriend is 26F. Any info that may elicit questions on how I knew it was because either friends or family filled me in after D-Day. My best friend is someone who I have known since high school. We were in the same homeroom and were inseparable after that, basically brothers from another mother. You know the whole spiel. We kept zero secrets and are an open book to each other. Our dating lives, relationships, dirty laundry, etc., you name it, he knew everything about me, and I knew everything about him. Even though he may be my best friend, I would never introduce any women I know to date him because his dating life has been a complete disaster. He has had 4 exes, 2 of which cheated on him. One was sleeping with multiple men. The second one was 2-timing with another man for a year. He cheated on his 3rd GF and dumped her to be with his 4th GF. He also hits up prostitutes on a regular basis. His mother is also wealthy, and so he has never had to work his entire life. His mom just sends him money. Meanwhile, I was a virgin and never had any contact with any women until this relationship. The events: I met my so through a dating app back on January 13, 2019. From the first date to the end of 2020, things were generally going well. We traveled a lot and also hung out plenty of time with my best friend and his so whom they had been together for around 4 years at the time. When the pandemic hit, my best friend so broke up with him and moved back to China. So during this time it pretty much became just us 3 hanging out all the time. We would play video games, watch movies and just hang out together at our homes. When the restaurant started opening up, we would go out to eat, and sometimes he would also happen to take my GF out to go grab some dinner, which at first I didn't think anything of because she lived close by to the places that he would go eat at. I thought nothing of it and the outings for them became more and more frequent. I felt off, as she came home later and later, but I didn't question it because he was my best friend of 20 years and she would always send me pictures of the food and tell me that she was grabbing dinner with him. January 2021, I started helping out my GF's family to renovate a new house they just got. During this time I had already returned to work for 2 days a week. The remainder of the 5 days I would go help renovate the house. By the end of March, I had broken my wrist tossing out wooden planks. I underwent wrist surgery, and then her birthday came up on April 29th. April 29th, I had planned a trip for her that involved the 29th and 30th. On the 30th, as we were coming back home, my best friend wanted to give her a birthday cake as well and waited for us to come back. He had also gifted her a custom engraved iPad for her birthday in which she was ecstatic over. May, week 1, a week later, she calls me up to break up with me, reasons being she didn't see a future with me because I didn't make enough money. She said that I was lazy and had to find a second job and I don't have the luxury of playing games all day compared to my best friend who doesn't have to work because he's rich. I was also not the first one to wish her a happy birthday at 12 a.m. I was 2 minutes late. I asked her who it was that had wished her a happy B-Day earlier than me, and she replied with "You don't need to know." I have come to learn that it was my best friend. May, between week 2 and 3, a couple of weeks after the breakup, I called up my best friend of 20 years to confide in him that I had broken up with her. Before this, I have never shared any of my issues with my girlfriend with him. He had no idea that I was suffering and going through this pain. Apparently he had already invited her out for dinner a few days earlier and told me he had no idea we broke up and that she didn't mention anything about me when they were together. He told me to never hesitate to reach out, and that he was already there for me, in which I took up and either hung out or called him up to talk every day for at least 2 hours per phone call. May, week 3, she calls me up to get back together with me. I agreed to get back together. Everything seems to be going well for the next few weeks. We had talks of saving money to get a place to move in together next year. We had also planned a 3-day vacation trip together with a bunch of friends that included my best friend. I told my best friend about it, and he gave me advice saying you need to reconsider moving in together with her because she broke up with you when you broke your wrist and that's a huge red flag. She put you through hell all this time, she's never going to change, and can you truly envision the rest of your life with her? His advice was sound, reasonable, and I accepted it without hesitation. May, week 4 to June, week 3, during this time, I started going to therapy for my broken wrist post-surgery, and there were a couple of cute women there that I had casually told my best friend about. After the way my so had initially broken up with me, amongst the previous issues throughout the years, started wavering a bit. So I told my best friend about having doubts on maintaining this relationship, and if I should break up with her. Maybe I could even ask out one of these ladies. He told me that it was a terrible decision, and to just keep my so in the dark, just ask out the women from therapy, and that if things work out with them, then my so can be a backup until I can transition and promote them into the main girlfriend position. I was extremely distraught at this thought, cried for a couple days, and in the end I didn't go through with it, seeing as how it would devastate my GF and waste her time. I would hate myself for life. June, week 3, I chose to work on this relationship, and work on myself instead, so I delved into online articles on relationship advice. I had many tabs open with different articles, some that are titled "When to Break Up, How Do You Know If She's Worth Sticking Around For?" and other generally sensitive topics. When my So came over, she saw the open tabs and started questioning me. So we got into a fight and she accused me of having someone else that I liked. She told me that someone else also asked her out at one point during our relationship, and she turned him down because she was in a committed relationship with me. She texted my best friend that she was no longer going to the group outing that we had originally planned. I told her that I was having doubts, but wanted to work things out with her and try my best, as we had built something for the last 3 years and I truly cared for her. I told her I was in it for the long haul. We made up and decided to go on that trip. June, week 4, my best friend had gotten a new apartment, and was busy buying furniture and setting up equipment. He had asked me over to help set up. He had gotten a couple televisions, and a table and bed from IKEA that I helped him put together. This was supposed to be his new bachelor pad, as he has decided to delve back into the dating scene and get out of the single life. He had also really started to work out and do cardio to lose weight, and he did a pretty damn good job of it. After I finished helping him put together the bed, he thanked me, while I told him nah, no problem, you've been there for me every step of the way through this darkest time of my life, and I would do the same for you, this is nothing. He also reassured me that he never told her anything during the times they hang out June 30th. This would be the last time I would be able to reach him through phone calls or text. The last time he picked up my call was earlier that day. I tried calling him later that night and texting him, and from that point forth, he dropped off the face of the earth. He would come to reveal that he was having dinner with her that night, and didn't want to make things awkward for her by picking up my phone call. This would also be the first time that I know of that she had not told me that they were going out for dinner, aside from the time when we broke up with the 3 weeks break in between. July 9th, the next time I saw or made contact with him wouldn't be until the trip. He was the driver as he had the car. Before then, whenever the three of us hung out, I would always sit up front with him while my So sat in the back seat, but this time she said it was a long trip and she gets carsick, so she sat at the front the entire time. During the vacation, my best friend paid for everyone, all the tickets, our meals, and my girlfriend would be together with him the entire time, running off to play the arcades, gamble, and out of sight. Meanwhile, I was stuck in the back hanging out with my other friends. One of my friends revealed to me that they were gossiping amongst each other and taking pictures of them together, asking each other whose girlfriend that was. During the 3-day trip, I also didn't have any sex with my girlfriend. During the ride back, after everyone was dropped off home, I was the last one in the car with him. He also told me that he had gone to the same place last week with an ex-GF of his, and that is why he knew which places to eat at and which spots were fun. We just talked for a bit and I asked him why he stopped picking up, and he said he was busy setting up the internet and finishing up the final touches to his apartment. I would soon find out that the trip he booked for the same place was originally intended for my girlfriend, so that she would not miss out on the vacation, but I threw a wrench in his plans when I had made up with her. End of July and July 25th, my birthday was here, and the week before that things were getting cold and distant with my girlfriend. She would take hours to respond to text, sometimes not even text back at all, which she has never done before. She came to stay over the night before my b-day so we can go celebrate together the following day. I waited until 12:05 a.m. before she mumbled nonchalantly to me happy b-day. I tried to have sex with her, which she was brushing me off, also never happened before, but we finally ended up having sex. This would be our last intimate moment together. The actual b-day was a disaster. She was out of it completely, took me to eat, got me a present, but left halfway through the day, saying she was busy and had work to complete. It would be the last time I ever saw her in person. Combined with the recent trip, I just began to feel terrible, and by the following week I was pretty much about to call it quits. Week of July 30th, these next few days after my birthday was just me going through the motions of random texting, FaceTime her at night, with no real emotions. On Friday, July 30th, I just stopped texting her, in which she also didn't text me at all until 5 p.m. after work ended. I finally called her up, and we got into an argument over the phone. We never explicitly stated we were gonna break up, but admittedly we ended on a bad note, as I have truly been fed up with her attitude. I started saying petty angry things and asked her why she never got me a b-day card nor a b-day cake, and her response was that she got me a card, but didn't know what to write on it because she was scared that I would leave her, and did not get me a b-day cake because she was afraid that this would be the last time I made a wish in front of her. I told her that I didn't give a shit about her, and she hung up on me. Mid-August, I didn't contact her at all for the following 2 weeks until she texted me to tell me her father was coming over to my place to drop off my belongings and for me to return hers. The dad didn't even know what was going on and asked me to work things out with her. He told me he would love to see us reconcile and get back together and told me to keep in touch. August 28th, D-Day from the vacation until this day, 6 weeks total after the trip, 2 months if you include the last time I had spoken to my best friend aside from the trip. I kept trying to reach out to him, but he never picked up any of my calls or answered any texts. This day during work, one of my other close friends that we all hang out with calls me and says my best friend called him to tell him my So had moved in together with him and are now officially dating. Apparently, my best friend had called him up that morning to tell him the news, and to keep it a secret from me. Instead, this other friend told him that as soon as he hangs up, he would call me to tell me the truth, in which he did just that. I was absolutely gutted. That same night was when my best friend finally reached out to me. He called me to tell me everything. Mind you, I'm in a complete state of shock, so I'm answering incoherently and asking stupid questions. Him: "Hey, how've you been? If you haven't already realized it by now, I'm dating, GF name. It just happened I had no choice. I was feeling suicidal if I didn't see her. Just being with her made me happy. She doesn't want to see you or speak to you. I'll always have your best interest at heart. She was terrible for you, but perfect for me." I asked him why did he give her a custom iPad engraved with her name and in her favorite color, and how did he even know when her birthday was. He said he just wanted to see her happy, and it didn't mean any more than that. I would find out that he did months of research snooping her social media and stalking her Facebook feeds to find out the relevant information. I asked him when and what made him ask her out to dinner dates. He told me it was because he saw that we were already having issues. She was mistreating me and being very disrespectful towards me, and that he liked her, so he saw this opening that he had to take a chance on and shoot his shot, and that he was absolutely floored she agreed to go out with him. I asked him why he never asked me to go along with him when they were going on one-on-one dinner dates, driving her around to fancy restaurants with all expenses paid. He tells me, "I didn't want to bother you. You were busy. I didn't consider those dates. I just wanted to see her because I would feel suicidal if I didn't see her. Only being close to her made me alive and happy. Don't worry, until you two broke up, I never laid my hands on her, never touched her. I wouldn't do that to you." I said, "You do know that is emotional cheating, right? You two have been cheating on me." And his response, "If that's the way you see it, then I'm sorry." I asked him that if given the chance to redo this whole situation, would he readily throw me under the bus and pull this stunt again. He said absolutely, 10/10. She is my soulmate and that he'd be shocked if he doesn't marry her. She's a terrible match with you, but she's perfect with me. I asked why he would pursue her and get together with her when I literally kept no secrets about all her red flags to him. His response was, "I feel like you made many mistakes and caused these issues to spiral out of control. I can handle her. I actually like these red flags. It makes things more exciting." I told him that if she was willing to cheat on me, that she would cheat on him in the future as well, and he said that's totally a possibility. "It's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm willing to give my girlfriends a one-time pass for cheating." I asked him why he would do this to me and that he made my life miserable. He had 4 exes, and the first 2 cheated on him multiple times, and he cheated on his 3rd GF and dumped her to be with his 4th GF. So I asked him, "You've experienced the pain of being cheated on. Why would you do this to me?" His response was, "I didn't think it'd be that bad. Give it some time, you'll get over it. Weren't you gonna ask out that therapy girl? You're still young, there's plenty of fish out in the sea. We are the same age." I asked him how was the sex? And he responded with, "It's alright, you can find better out there." I asked him how it didn't bother him, or doesn't he think of me when he's having sex with her? He says when you have sex with enough women, you don't think about that stuff. He has also had sex with hundreds of prostitutes. I told him that we never broke up, and that we only got into an argument on July 30th. He tells me that he had no idea and that she called him to see him on August 1st to 2nd days after our fight, and she was all over him, and that was when he knew that we were over. He says this last month she's been living with me and staying over pretty much 70% of the time. She's my live-in GF now. During this time, a few days before this phone call, my mom, who was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer around 5 years back, was told to stop taking the medications because they were no longer working and she was too weak to receive further treatment. So she's basically on hospice care. I told my friend if he wanted to visit her one last time because I didn't know whether she'd be around after another year or not. He said he'd love to, but he can't. My last question to him was, "Am I your best friend?" He replies with, "Of course, it's not even close. You helped me out during my darkest times, and I'll always remember that." I told him, "You weren't there for me during my darkest time, you were nowhere to be found, and now I find out, instead, you were the perpetrator all along." He said, "I'm sorry you feel that way." We end the phone call by him telling me that he's going to lay low for 6 to 12 months and that he won't be hanging out with me during this time. He tells me not to listen to what any of my peers and family say about cutting him off, and that he'll always be friends with me and that he cares deeply about me. He told me this entire time of no contact, that he was actually really worried about me and wanted to check up on me all this time, but he was really busy, and that tonight was the first time he had time to talk to me. For our final words, he said to only contact him if it pertains to separating and closing any joint accounts and bills that I still share with my girlfriend. If it doesn't relate to that issue, do not reach out to him. Basically, if I want to contact my girlfriend at all, I have to go through him first. I have also come to realize my GF has blocked me from every social media, phone, etc., and she cannot be reached for me to get any sense of closure. I have since sent her 2 emails to talk and gain closure, to tell her how much I hurt her, and pushed her away. That my inability and coldness drove her to seek the warmth and comfort of my best friend. That I was truly sorry for everything, and that if she wanted to move on and date him, that I would give them my blessings, and all I ask is for her to have one final conversation with me for closure, for our last 3 years together to mean something instead of the way it ended in complete ghosting. I have also contacted her father, who said he would talk to me after talking to her, but he has never reached out since. I'm absolutely gutted and devastated. I've not only lost my so that I have, at one point, considered proposing to and starting a family with, but I've also lost my closest friend that I have shared more than half my lifetime, and half my memories with. Losing my GF of 3 years was bad enough, But losing my best friend through this treachery, I'm in shambles. I see them living large, going on vacations and having the time of their lives on social media, and meanwhile I'm here losing two of the closest people in my life aside from my family, and soon my mother as well. I get nightmares of them laughing and smiling at each other while having sex on the bed I helped put together. It haunts me and I get sleepless nights over it. I get random pangs of pain in my chest and it keeps me wide awake. I just want to wake up from all of this, to find out that none of this is real. I just don't understand how he could destroy my relationship so badly. This is my first ever relationship, and he just had to steal my first woman. Update: I've done extensive research and my ex-best friend is a sociopath/narcissist, and my ex-GF is a narcissist. I know these terms have been getting thrown around a lot these days, but that's usually the case with cheaters like these two. They hit just about every bullet point that coincides with the dark triad of psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellianism. Basically, I couldn't thank my lucky stars enough, and am absolutely blessed that things unfolded in such spectacular fashion. They excised themselves from my life, they're both dead to me and I want absolutely nothing to do with them ever again. Now for the juicy part. First off, apologies to the late update, almost a year later, but the reason for that is because those two betrayers are so irrelevant to me now that I just couldn't really be bothered to write up this short novel. I preface that because the rabbit hole goes deep. It's crazy, literally and figuratively. But with that being said, if you're in for a ride, strap in, and I highly recommend you to brush up on the details on my previous post before diving into this one.
We have to set the stage first with some names. Snake, ex-best friend, 4 known exes, called NA, B, C, D, and my ex-GF, E. But let's make it simple and just keep it my ex-GF, true bro, the one that reported the cheating to me. He's the mutual best friend we both have, or Snake had.
Picking off from where I left off, August 28, 2021, D-Day, Sep 2-1 get back on the dating apps, December 6th, I run into Snake's ex-GFC, and we match. I haven't seen her since about back in 2016. Quick backstory, I have only met C once but I remember her face. Snake met this woman on the dating apps and started dating her for a few months before moving on to D. I knew D from a mutual friend gathering, and I was actually interested in dating her, but Snake took over instead and started dating her even though he knew I was interested. Mind you, during this time he was still dating C, so he was two-timing for about a month before breaking up with C and started officially dating D. During all these years, C never truly let go of Snake. She has never dated anyone else since and was still madly in love with Snake and became the stalker type, always calling him, asking to meet up, and he felt bad, so he would take her out to dinner and trips periodically. Snake would always confide in me about how she's constantly reaching out to him. I told him he needed to stop seeing her and let cut all ties with her, because he is essentially wasting her time and stringing her along. End backstory: December 6th to first match with her and started talking to her saying hi, it's been a long time. And she responds with, have you heard from Snake? What's he been up to? And I immediately think, uh-oh, the crazy ex is here we go, but I decided this woman has a right to know how much of an irredeemable piece of shit he is and for her to wake up and move on. So I arrange a meetup at a restaurant the following day. December 7th, I was nervous as hell as I had no idea what to expect or how to even begin, but before I dropped my bombs to her, we exchanged some brief pleasantries first before I asked her a few questions. Me, when did you two break up? C, like almost a month ago. Me, where was the last trip you two went on? C, back in early July. Conclusion: Snake never broke up with C, he was dating both C and D for the last 4 to 5 years. D was a friend of True Bro, so we always hung out with D. C was the bygone ex from 4 years ago that was dropped in favor of D, except never dropped. Apparently Snake had been living together in an apartment with C all these years. He would spend a few days at C's, or their place, and then a few days at D's place. C had always asked about hanging out with True Bro and me since she hasn't seen us in so many years. Snake had a divide and conquer strategy set up. He would hang out with his college buddies with C, and when it comes to D, he would hang out with us. So about a couple months ago Snake broke up with C, moved out to a new apartment, so he can move in my ex-GF, but his name is still on the lease with C, and he still had keys to the place, so he still periodically comes and goes as he pleases. Snake took C on 2 to 3 day trip to the same exact place our group vacation was headed to a week prior. Turns out Snake likes to do multiple repeat trips with all his women on back-to-back weekends.
He took C, D, and my ex-GF to the same places like Disney World/Universal Studios.
After we compared notes, and pointed out every discrepancy and lie, we parted ways. December 8th, Snake shows up unannounced to C's apartment. C had, the night before, tossed out all the remaining belongings Snake had left. Snake is livid and calls up True Bro to spin some lies about him clearing things up with C and they are still in a loving friendship, sure. She changes the locks and gets Snake to remove his name from the lease. Mid-deck, C and I decide to visit Snake's dad to report to him what atrocities his son has committed. We both haven't seen his father in years, and it just so happens she knows his address. So we take a shot in the dark and just show up unannounced. The father was ecstatic to see us both. He immediately asked C, how's the relationship going? When are you two getting married? And as towards me, hey, I haven't seen you in so long, I missed you, how've you been? Basically, we told him everything his son had done, that not only was he not marrying C, in fact, it's over between them, as he has stolen my GF and currently lives together with her. Needless to say, the father was visibly distraught and devastated. Discoveries and truths uncovered. Snake is not rich at all. His dad is in his mid-70s, retired, and is sending his son $1,000 a month from his own retirement and social security benefits to help pay for rent for the apartment with C, which is around $3,500 a month. That's because Snake has never been employed in his life. We thought he was a trust fund baby, except he's just a lazy sack of garbage. C knows Snake does nothing but play video games 24/7, so she is the one paying for the entire rent. Basically, Snake had been using his father's money to wine and dine my ex-GF. Snake's mom is not wealthy, she does alright, but most likely sends him some money as well. Snake has about 10 credit cards that he's maxed out, is in $100,000 debt, and is basically a massive fraud and loser. Snake has graduated from a prestigious Ivy League school with an advanced degree but has never had a job after that, stating that these positions are beneath him, and not enough pay. He wants the best of the best, top 1 percentile salary, or he's not working and wasting his time. He has never had a job since graduating back in 2017. His own father said, I failed as a father, raised the biggest failure in the family lineage. I never should have come to America, never should have gotten married and had this kid. He's an utter disgrace to the _family name. C also asked me for my ex-GF contact info because she thinks my ex-GF got tricked and does not want her to become a victim and go through what she did. So I gave her ex-GF's info, and she forwards ex-GF the following information: lease, the screenshots of the texts, and phone logs of Snake blowing up C's phone in the middle of the night and leaving texts saying how he wants to get back together with her.
Some highlights include Snake telling C he had hoped to live in a mansion in the future where A, B, C, D, E could live together under one roof and get along. This man was trying to amass a harem and wanted to add my ex-GF to the collection.
Instead of thanking C, my ex-GF calls her up to badmouth me, telling her to stop hanging out with me and that I'm a bad person. Apparently, Snake told my ex-GF that he still had to periodically check on C to make sure she was going through the breakup alright, and to ease her pain. He has previously stated that he maintains close friendships with all his exes and treats them to dinners once in a while, and that all his exes wanted to get back together with him. Some extra tidbits about Snake. Snake has made inappropriate sexual advances on the wife of one of True Bro's best friend when he was still with D. D and the wife are best friends, so he was blatantly making a move on the wife while D was in the house. This transgression was swept under the rug as a one-time isolated incident. He has also had a history of making moves on other married women. He keeps nude pictures of his exes, particularly of ex-GFA, on a password-encrypted hard drive that he views every so often. I ask him why he still views them. Was she the one that got away? His response: no, nothing of that sort. A is the same age as us. I don't want a 30s woman, she's old and washed up now. He goes on to say that he's merely admiring the pinnacle of the female physique in her 18-year-old prime when they first got together in college. He said she was his greatest conquest, and he's never going to be able to tap the ass of another 18-year-old, so he enjoys this body of art. Snake pays for prostitutes everywhere he goes. He has tried to get me to lose my virginity on my 30th b-day to one, but I turned him down after he brought me to the brothel. The conclusion is that ex-GF and Snake are both lost causes and deserve each other. May they enter a relationship of mutual assured destruction. After that incident, the rest are pretty mundane. Apparently C's b-day is also in April with my ex-GF. He called C up and left a voicemail wishing her a happy b-day. Meanwhile, ex-GF called C up as well to continue telling her to get a hold of me to clear up some unfinished business. I find the fact that both of them are reaching out to C hilarious and insane. Fast forward to today, I'm at a point of pretty much indifference now. If they break up, that's cool. If they don't, that's also great, at least they won't drag down any new victims. They're both pathetic, and what everyone has told me from a year ago all came true. Time is the healer of all wounds, and I simply stopped caring about them, and I'm much happier for it. I can't promise if I run into Snake on the streets, that I won't buckle under the emotions and go fuck him up, but luckily I haven't seen him since. Otherwise, life's been good, and from being a 31-year-old virgin to having the ultimate crash course in heartbreak, betrayal, cheating, and everything under the hood in 2.5 years, dealing with sociopaths, narcissists, I couldn't have asked for a better lesson, as it left me with nothing but positives. I've never gotten married, no kids, no STDs, still able-bodied, didn't lose money, exposed a 20-plus-year-old backstabbing Snake that was hiding a dagger behind his back the entire time. I dived into books about human psychology, relationships, self-help, self-improvement topics, and watched countless videos and podcasts on all these subjects. It's opened my eyes, and I am that much wiser for it. Edit. Another dark story that I've forgotten about and decided to just tack on here since it's pretty niche. If anyone has played Animal Crossing, New Horizons, it's basically a video game on the Nintendo Switch where you own a small island that you can design the landscape to your liking, and other people can visit it and run around and do activities together. Long story short, XGF lived with me during the pandemic of March 2020, so when the game came out, us both were playing that as well as Snake. We would always laugh and poke fun at Snake for him making a female avatar with long black hair. For as much as he plays, he's surprisingly ignorant on the game mechanics when we play together. However, he still managed to make his island into a 5-rated resort. It's an in-game rating system, highest level. Come to find out, it's because it was his XGFC who was playing the game the entire time. Anytime we would ask him to co-op, whether to visit his island or ask him to visit us, he would then grab the Switch from C and then play with us. I just found this revelation extremely unsettling and is a chilling example of just how cold and calculated this monster is.